Hi, today I want to talk about why I look so ratchet today, basically. And I want to talk about oversleeping because basically that's what I did today. And then I woke up, I think it's about 2:30. I will check, but my clock is like turned toward my bed. But it's about 2:30. I woke up at like 1 o'clock. And I went to bed at like 9:30. So let's see, how much sleep did I get? 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. About 15 and a half hours of sleep. That can't be right. Went to bed at 9:30. 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1. Okay, so I got about 15 and a half hours of sleep. That's about twice what I need. And the night before I got about 10 hours of sleep. So, notes are that it's possible to consistently oversleep, which you might think it's not, and you might think that if you like sleep a ton one night, you won't be able to sleep the next night. That isn't necessarily true. And I want to show my nice pajamas. Wait. But so, yeah, I guess I woke up at 1 in the afternoon, and then I didn't really feel like getting dressed, and I didn't take a shower, so my hair is nice and greasy, and it looks like I don't know, it looks like I have 2 horns sticking out of my head. But I wanted to talk about oversleeping and depression because I have depression, and oversleeping is just probably the main way that I cope with it. Everyone has their coping mechanisms with depression, and if you have depression, you'll probably hear a lot about healthy coping mechanisms, healthy coping mechanisms and unhealthy coping mechanisms. Some of the unhealthy coping mechanisms include self-harm, drugs, alcohol, and so I tend to sleep a lot in order just to not be conscious, and to be really depressing. I'm constantly in some degree of pain, and except when I'm asleep, and then I'm not really in pain unless, as my friend pointed out, you're having a nightmare, in which case you may be in pain when you're asleep. One thing I always wonder is, when you're having a nightmare, are you really like experiencing like fear and stuff while you're asleep, or does that just happen as soon as you wake up and you realize that you had a nightmare? Like, I guess, I don't know. Because I always, because if you think about it, when you're asleep, you're unconscious, but when you're having a nightmare, you're experiencing fear. So you're experiencing fear while you're unconscious. I don't know. Maybe there are varying degrees of unconsciousness, but sleep, oversleeping. Oh yeah, so different things that I do is, I used to just sleep in like till 1 like every day on the weekends, but that I find isn't really that useful to my life because I just kind of like don't take showers and like be ratchet and like don't do anything with my life, and that doesn't actually end up being the best. One thing that I started doing recently is I like come home and like take a nap, which would kind of help me feel better, but a lot of times I can't really sleep, so I just like lay in bed for like 2 hours and like possibly be half asleep. Sometimes I just watch YouTube, and I think that was helpful to me. just makes my day shorter, and then I would sleep for about 8 hours at night. But then what I recently started doing, like a little bit ago, is dedicating like 10 hours. Like if I have to wake up at 5:30, then I'll go to bed at 7:30. So that gives me 10 hours and just sleep or watch YouTube, because I like watching YouTube a lot. That's also another good coping mechanism for me, but so I usually won't sleep for the whole time. If I'm not that tired, I'll watch YouTube, and it's kind of the time to make sure I get enough sleep, but also just have time to like relax at the end of the day. But this morning I decided to like sleep in a ton because we had a snow day today. So we had no school. And I just slept until like 1 o'clock, and I could have kept sleeping. I slept until like 5 p.m. before. I probably could have kept sleeping, but I didn't. But, you know, did I need all that sleep? No. And the thing about coping mechanisms for depression and probably other mental illnesses is just that they're almost all probably kind of unhealthy. Well, that's not true. If you have a coping mechanism of like painting to express how you feel, that's actually probably really healthy. But all my coping mechanisms are unhealthy to some degree. I do, I don't know, mine basically include eating junk food, which I have a really high metabolism, so that doesn't really have like a big long-term effect on me, but ultimately it isn't healthy to have like a ton of sugar in my diet, but it helps in the short term. I'm just oversleeping. I mean, it shortens the day. I'm trying to think of anything else that I do, but I can't really think of anything. I mean, when I was more depressed, just don't get dressed at all if I don't have to, and not shower, like for 5 days at a time. But the thing is, a lot of the time, these slightly unhealthy I can't talk today. A lot of times, these slightly unhealthy coping mechanisms are necessary. Sometimes completely necessary, like if you physically cannot take a shower, which has definitely happened to me numerous times before. And sometimes, and if you have problems with self-harm or intoxicant abuse, eating junk food in some moderation and oversleeping are probably a lot better than that. And different alternatives to self-harm, such as, you know, sometimes they'll say that if you want to see blood, what you can do is just paint blood on your arm, and make it look like you're bleeding when you're not. I think that is probably itself not the healthiest thing to do if you want to be the world's healthiest person, because psychologically, the idea of taking pleasure in your own, you know, pain and suffering is a little twisted if you think about it, but, you know, if that's what you need to do to not self-harm, it's definitely better than not self-harming. And sometimes you have to do something slightly unhealthy in order to cope with the way that you feel. So at the end of the day, me eating kind of a lot of junk food and sleeping all day is somewhat necessary for me to do at this point in my life. It's not the ideal, but it's kind of necessary. But I don't want to sleep until 1 because I don't know, it just kind of makes me feel like lazy and like kind of blah, I guess. So I think I'm going to keep doing my 10-hour thing and then just waking up at the appointed time, which this morning was supposed to be 5:30 because I wasn't sure whether or not we would have school. We didn't. But 10 hours, self-harm, oversleeping. I think that's all I have to say. I'm gonna try my 10-hour thing, where I have 10 hours to either sleep or watch YouTube, kind of chill out for a while, have time to keep up with all my favorite channels. Don't watch Onision because he cheated on his wife, and don't watch React because of the trademark controversy. I recently unsubscribed from a lot of channels because of their unethical behavior, but I really like those channels. Like, Onision is hilarious and the React channel is good, but, you know, your money means something, so don't put it towards unethical practices. I guess that's all I have to say. If you have depression or other mental illnesses, try to keep your coping mechanisms as healthy as possible, but remember that there are things that are necessary, and try your hardest to never self-harm or cope with drugs or alcohol, because really at the end of the day those aren't the best, and try your hardest to do anything else. Okay, peace out, bye.